Here, all we're talking about this week, Titans turmoil, Gold Coast crisis, call it what you like. Why is it so hard? Why has there been no success, do you think, NRL level on the Gold Coast?
There's something about the place. I mean, everybody wants to go there. Unfortunately, that doesn't add up, though, with success on the sporting field. Gold Coast have got to figure out what sort of club they are. Instead of being the nice guys who always run 14th and 15th to make everybody else feel better, get out there, get a hard edge to your club and start winning some games.
2019 was a big year for the Gold Coast Titans, but in a bad way. They got rid of their coach. They finished with the wooden spoon. Where to from now for the Titans?
I think the next decision is a big one. You know, they've got to get the coach right.
I think there's so much more than the Gold Coast Titan needs than just a head coach. They need a playing roster that has an identity, that actually stands for something.
How does the club earn back credibility? At the moment, the club is a luck. How do you become serious NRL?
Hard work.
It's an easy place to fall in love with, but for many Australian sports, the Gold Coast has been Heartbreak City. One game keeps coming back, this time apparently by invitation.
We're going to make our way down the bottom corner where our 1.2 is set up, ready to go. We've raised our standards this year. This pre-season's been really solid, really strong. Let's not just leave it yesterday. Let's go today and give our best here, okay? Give our best. Yes. We might not get a PB, but I just want to see your best effort. Have the time of your life. We're all going. Push each other. Go in 3. Go! Here we go. Let's not warm into this. Let's get really uncomfortable here. It is a test. We should be down to 2 laps to go, so we're all picking the tempo up. 8, 9, 4 minutes on the clock, boys. Keep working straight. 4:30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yes, beautiful. All right, boys.
Okay. Also, don't feel like you got to polish it up too much.
Peter Bedell, Chief League Writer of the Courier Mail. I look at the recent history of the Titans and I just see it as shamefully shambolic. I mean, 1 finals appearance in 10 years, 2 wooden spoons. Not only on the field problems, lowest membership in the NRL, poor crowds, but look at the off-field stuff. A drug scandal in 2015. They were training at Southport School at the time, the administration base. They get kicked out of the school because of the drug scandal. They're homeless, they've got nowhere to go. So they were Australian sports train wreck.
The big change here is that the NRL has stepped in and taken control. Surely must say it's a disappointing day. Look,
the Titans have gone bankrupt twice, technically. I mean, in 2012, they had debts of $30 million. And then going into 2015, there was a takeover of the club from the NRL. So it could have easily been on death's door a number of times.
And I think you'll find the Gold Coast Suns and the AFL have had similar problems at nearby Carrara. So whether anyone can make a professional sporting team on the Gold Coast a success, I'm not completely certain.
I mean, if you were a patient, they were dead set going into intensive care with the defibrillators out.
To leave the Gold Coast without a licence would be doing the game of rugby league a grave injustice.
All right, ready to go? Good morning. morning, everybody, and thank you very much for making the effort to be here this morning at short notice. It is with great pleasure that I confirm the local consortium, led by Rebecca and Brett Fazell and Darryl and Joanne Kelly, will now take ownership of the Titans. The short answer is that the game doesn't have the funds to bail out clubs in the future. So clubs need to stand on their own 2 feet.
They're very lucky to still be here, and it's only probably the generosity of people like Darryl Kelly and Beck Frazell that have kept this club afloat.
It is Monday Night Football. It's the Titans up against the Sharks. The Gold Coast is alive with rugby league back on the coast full time for the first time since 1998.
We pretty well live and breathe Titans. If we didn't have it, I always say to my husband, we'd probably be divorced because we have nothing else in common. So that's our thing that brings our family together.
Where I work, recycling place, we do skip bins and find a lot of Titan stuff, which my cousin, who's a Broncos supporter, likes to tease me about because they'd never throw out their Broncos stuff, you know. So, but look, if they want to throw it away, I'll take it. You know, we keep it here.
We live on the street going to the training field, so when all the boys are going to training, they see our flag flying. It's become a bit of an icon to the suburb because everyone knows our flag, and we love it because we love to, you know, shout out to the community. We love Titans.
It's a hard place on the Gold Coast. It's a bit of a transient sort of place, so a lot of people that come here have already got a team. You know, and there are a lot of Sydney people live here, a lot of Victorians, so it's sort of hard to bring them across. Just want to say to all the kids out there, mate, if you live on the Gold Coast, this is your club, you know? Well, look, they were going great, weren't they? You know, like they made their prelim.
Underway at Skill Park for Rabina. It is a little bit of Preston magic, and Scotty Prince was there in support. Now Campbell, a crossfield ball here, foot on Frankie,
and that will be enough. And it could be some sort of celebration here in the Gold Coast tonight.
Mates of mine were saying, you know, where the hell did these guys come from? And then it just...
I thought there was a period of time under the coaching of Neil Henry that they started to find this ability to scrap and fight and compete on everything, and that deteriorated. That deteriorated pretty quickly.
People were taking all their jerseys and memorabilia out on the street and lighting them on fire and then getting in the cars and reversing and driving over it.
There was just a stink. We'd be at the stadium and people would walk out. No doubt, we've been really disappointed with some of the things that have gone on. But like having kids, you kind of teach them to stick to it, you know. This is your club, you're not going to give up, no matter what. And then you have your little highlights where you win games, you know. And I'll tell you what, when you're losing all the time and you win them games, you know. Even there was a game there a couple of years ago where it went to Golden Point against Penrith. And we lost by 1 point, but it didn't matter, it was still the best game. Like when you're a Titan supporter, when we've been through all that stuff, to come close is great. It doesn't matter if we win or not, you know.
It hurt me as a rugby league person to see the struggles of the Titans and the previous Gold Coast franchises over the years. First priority was ensuring that we had quality leadership.
It's only 2 weeks ago that we're here announcing Mel Meninga, and today I want to introduce you to our new Chief Executive Officer.
Yes, Steve Mitchell, CEO of the Gold Coast Titans. All the external pieces for the club were here. The Gold Coast is over 600,000 people now. There's 13,500 participants, both genders, junior and senior, between Logan and Lismore. It's a traditional rugby league heartland.
They have lost their last 6, so very much playing for pride.
That concerned me, that young people would miss their opportunities to represent their community through the Titans, through their states, through their country, if the national franchise wasn't successful.
To end, from a team perspective, a most disappointing season.
It was really fundamentally important, and ultimately is a critical piece, is getting our football program right and getting some results.
We can't shirk that. It is important for us to perform.
The reality is that the Titans are a great community champion, and it is a club with a big heart. But the reality is all that great work is amplified and magnified when you're winning on the field.
At the end of the day, it's about getting quality people on board, and that necessarily requires a degree of selflessness and sacrifice. If we're going to achieve what we aim to achieve.
The owners and Dennis have pushed it through a fair transition period from NRL back to where we are now. So now it's about stability, consolidation, get some energy and let's get excited and let's rip into 2019.
It all went pear-shaped. They lost 11 in a row. You don't know what the Titans are. You don't know what they stand for.
I think the next decision for the Gold Coast Titans is a big one. They've got to get the coach right.
The only thing the Gold Coast right now has got going for it is it's got an NRL job for one of those coaches.
We're in no doubt that this is it. This is the last stand. We have to get it right. There are plenty of other people banging on the door who would probably like to launch teams elsewhere.
Yeah, brave statement by Dennis and an admirable one. And I say this because having covered the Titans since day one thing I've been sick and tired of is people internally who lived in fairyland. They had warped opinions of how good they were. They were comfortable with mediocrity. I remember saying, why are you happy being 12th? Why don't you want to win comps? Like if I was at the club, I'd want mongrel, I'd want winners, I'd get rid of people who just want to have an NRL contract. That's not acceptable for me. You either be in with a crack and you want to win the comp, or you tolerate mediocrity. And the Titans were tolerating mediocrity, and for too long that's been the problem with the club. So for Dennis to come forward, I think that was a seminal statement to say, we no longer just want to be mediocre, we want to be dominant. And I think that's a key distinction.
It was a rallying cry. I wasn't being a prophet of doom, but it was a rallying cry for support, both internally and externally. We did have to get that decision right.
What's the latest you're hearing?
I still get the feeling, Ben, that Kevin Walters is firming by the day as the man most likely to take over and lead the Gold Coast Titans into a new era. And I actually think it might well come to fruition by the end of this week, early next week.
That Kevin Walters gets appointed?
Yes.
Everyone saw Kevy just seemed to tick the boxes, Queenslander, Origin coach, big name, big personality. He just seemed to fit the Titans.
I knew Lachlan well from when I was in the Cowboys. He's a really good guy, and I knew I could get an honest rap if I gave him a call. So I asked him, how are you, mate? And he said, I'm good, but I'm filthy you're ringing me because I know where you are and I don't want to lose him. He said he's been the best coach he'd ever worked for. He said, what I do well, he builds, and what I'm not doing well, we work on. He said, other coaches usually belt me on what I'm not doing well. And he said, I'm playing out of my skin. He said, he's been phenomenal for me. So yeah, I said, thanks, Lockie, I'll talk to you later.
But I remember getting a phone call from a contact and they said, Kevin Walters won't get this job, it's going to Justin Holbrook.
This is a massive ask for a rookie coach who's never coached in the NRL to go to the Gold Coast where nothing works.
And I was surprised. I thought, okay, I didn't know much about him as a coach. I started doing some research.
The future survival of the club to put on a bloke who hasn't coached NRL.
And he'd had some good results in England, 80% success record with St Helens, won a grand final in his last game before coming to the Titans. So I was a little bit surprised, but the more I inquired, the more calls I made, the more people I spoke to, it started to make sense that this was a young coach on the rise at the right time of his career to be at the vanguard of the new NRL head coach.
Smalley's back. Welcome back. Can't talk, but he's back.
You must be glad you don't have to talk circles around it anymore.
Okay, boys, warning.
Yeah, Justin Holbrook, head coach of the Gold Coast Titans. Back at St Helens, where I absolutely loved it over there. I loved coaching there. I loved the people involved, staff and players at the club, and obviously had some good success there. So I was really happy there. But, you know, wanted to coach in the NRL, and I guess the phone call from Mal was the real sort of turning point. He just had a chat to me about my coaching, and then I asked him a lot of questions about the club. Everything that Mal said, you know, excited me about the Gold Coast in terms of, you know, starting with the owners, you know, Rebecca and Brett Frizzell and Darryl and Joe Kelly, how committed they were. Because previously to me going to St Helens, I'd obviously been assistant coach of the Sydney Roosters and watched the Gold Coast, and they obviously weren't doing too well. And when I was in England, they weren't doing too well. So for me, I had to make sure that everything was going to be in place to give them the best chance of you know, making it a success.
Starting role here today. Whiten was tremendous last year. And how about that to kick off 2020? Through the hands there of Evans. Another try for a 30-point lead here on the Gold Coast.
So much to like about the Cowboys tonight, and they finish in style.
We can't, you know, it just comes back to hard work. We've got to work harder during the 80 minutes.
I have a dream. The angle goes Kelly. Kick in behind. Chases there. Sammy! Play it again, Sammy! Almost a year to the day. And that's how long it's been since the Gold Coast Titans have won a game of footy, but they can celebrate now. Ash Taylor is pumped up. What a night for Holbrook. And they are off the bottom of the ladder. Smiles all round on the Gold Coast.
New fires it to Anthony Don. What a remarkable turn of events as the siren was about to sound.
You know, I was confident with help of others that I could be a big part of it, and that excited me.
The Gold Coast Titans are successful at home.
What I really started to like to see was what Justin was asking of his player group. You know, he was pulling guys off the paddock that were on big money, and he was putting guys like Jamal, Jimmy, that weren't on big pay packets, but were based on energy and hard work. Regardless of the result, I was so excited about watching what Justin was trying to instill on that side, starting to actually come to life.
Wow! What an end of the half.
I think we're learning how to play and how to give ourselves a chance to win. I thought we did that today.
They rushed in. Chance. Try! Here they come.
We've got to be better next week.
That's a heartbreaker for Kevin Proctor and the Titans. They've taken two serious teams the distance over the last fortnight, but nothing to show for it. Full time at the end.
You know, there was one incident I saw, and it summed up the change of the Titans under Justin Holbrook for me. Round 13 against the North Queensland Cowboys. The Titans are leading 20-0, so they've got the game in the bag pretty much. 3 minutes into the second half, at a time when most teams switch off when they're leading by 20.
Fogarty.
Jamal Fogarty puts a kick in across. The ball's about to go dead in goal, and Kevin Proctor runs through and he leaps full length and bats it back in field, and Brian Kelly scores. That, to me, summed up the new Titans.
Fogarty! Jamal Fogarty slams it down! Last goes to Thompson. Tonavapia is going to score a wonderful team try. They beat the Broncos in back-to-back attempts for the first time in club history.
Oh, AJ Brimson down the middle. Good boy! Taylor the kick. Spry coming through. Tremaine Spry! The Titans, 4 wins in a row. They are a team on the rise. Now Kevin Proctor. 2021 can't come soon enough. Congratulations to the Gold Coast.
G'day, welcome to our special season review of the Gold Coast Titans here on Wide World of Sport. And who would have thought, guys, that the Titans would be Queensland's best team, easily their best team in 2020. One word to describe their season. I'll start with you, Walt.
Impressive.
Lockie?
Impressive.
we should have coordinated that a bit better. Why impressive, Lockie?
Oh, look, I think most people had predictions of the Titans finishing right down near the bottom, and where they are today, currently 9th on the ladder.
We've come back to training, not back at square one again. We've made inroads. All of a sudden, I think we've got a bit of credibility from the rest of the league, and that's important to me. I don't want to be they're in the competition to make up the numbers. Nobody wants that. A lot of people have said to me, "Oh, now there's expectation on you. How do you find that?" It's good. We're in sport, which everyone wants winners and losers.
One more, we make it. Go, kick up. Go, you can do it, Paddy. You can do it. Let's go, let's go. What is that? Don't make yourself a target.
And what about 2021, guys? What's the realistic expectation if you're a Titans fan? Is a premiership within reach, or do you just settle for the top 8, or do you want to finish younger?
Yeah, it's always tough in sport because, we've got 16 teams in the NRL and everyone's got the same goal, to win the comp. And more realistic for a lot of teams is the top 8. And the reason it's such a great competition is because the salary cap does that. It makes all 16 teams think that they're going to fit into the top 8. And anyone that doesn't make the 8, us included, we want to make sure we're better to make the 8. So it is so difficult to give an outcome. One thing I do know, we're obviously stronger than what we were, this year. I'm excited about what's possible. As for what is, I'm not sure, but I'm looking forward to it.